Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for coming to Mobilize to Win launch call. Cheers and applause, cheers and applause. Um, as people are joining us from all over the country tonight, if you can take a moment now and please just share in the chat your first name, where you're calling from, and what motivated you to join this call today. We want to put a special emphasis on what's at stake for you and your loved ones in this election season. What will life look like for you if we win in November? And what will it take? What would it look like if we lose? So again, hey to everybody. We're so glad that you're here. Welcome to tonight's call. There's going to be a lot that you're going to hear from. You're going to hear from a few people. There's going to be a lot of information, but we're really here to inspire and to really get fired up about the work ahead. My name is Chris Percy, and I am the training director here at Move On. And I'm so honored to be here and speaking with all of you tonight. As an organizer myself, I am always keen on what is my personal story, that being the reason I do what I do and who I do it for, whether it's for my community or my family or I'm doing something for my friends. I always have my why ready, why I am doing what I do. I do this not just to be the most compelling storyteller, right? I try to be as transparent and pull at the heartstrings of people that I organize, but that's not the real reason that I think about my why. I keep my personal story handy for times when the work ahead is tedious and when I need to encourage myself. The last 3.5 years have been tedious, taxing almost, right? And I have needed to encourage myself and others on more occasions than I care to mention now. We only have a short time together, and I can tell you all kinds of stories of having to encourage myself and friends. But I am here talking with you tonight because I bet that you can identify with the way that I'm feeling, right? Just feeling the tiredness and the tedium. My story for being here tonight is that I'm just tired of being tired and I'm ready to do something. There are many issues that we face that transcend any election season that we're in, but this election has an effect on all of the issues that we face. So I am here because Donald Trump just got to go, okay? I don't have a whole bunch of fancy words to tell you. I don't have a long speech to give you, other than to say, I'm just ready for him to go. So now that you know my why, I hope that you have shared in the chat your why. So if you haven't done it, just introduce yourselves real quickly. We are a community here, and tell your why. What is motivating you to get involved this year? And I'm so thankful to each of you for joining. There's a lot going on in our world, and I'm so excited that we are going to do so much together. So now that you have heard my why and understand and know why I am here, let's get into the meat of this call. On that note, I am so excited to introduce Rana Epting, our executive director at Move On, to talk about what's at stake in this election and our strategy to mobilize and to win. Rana, please take it away.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with all of you in community because tonight we are launching our Mobilize to Win program. That's Move On's 2020 Leave No Stone Unturned election turnout strategy. And I want to be clear from the top of this call. We are not just looking for a victory in November. We want a landslide victory in November. And that means we need all hands on deck. Tonight, you're going to hear more about our Mobilize to Win program from our incredible team and how critical Move On members are to its success. And what's a Move On member, you may ask? All of you, each and every one of you are part of the Move On community. We are a vibrant, diverse, passionate collection of over 10 million and growing good-hearted people. Good people who take action in our communities to make the world a more beautiful place. It's that simple. That's what binds us all together. we all believe in the responsibility to nurture and tend to one another. We believe that collectively we can actually create a better, more loving world. And this year, there is no greater call upon all of us than to do our part to save this country and ensure a massive defeat for Donald Trump and Senator Mitch McConnell this November. So do what you need to do to prepare yourselves, because we got some work. Remind yourself of your why, as Chris mentioned earlier. What motivated you to join this live stream? Who are you fighting for? What you know we can build, the world that is totally possible if we can first remove the biggest barriers towards progress in our country that stand in our way. Anchor yourself in that dream, in that very real possibility, in those people, because it is in fact within arm's reach. And I'll say a bit about what I anchor myself in. As I prepare myself for this election season, I think back to Election Day 2016. That's my anchor. It was that moment where I sat holding my 1-year-old daughter in my arms. My eyes were glued to the television. I couldn't believe it. This country elected Donald Trump to be president of the United States. And why did that hurt me so? Because the fears I held in my heart that night, that he'd act on his most dangerous inclinations to divide us all along the lines of race so that he could consolidate power for himself and his friends. Unfortunately, those fears all came true. So I'm fighting for my daughter. I'm fighting for the world she deserves to grow up in, the world we all deserve, where we are all welcome, where we take care of each other. That's what I know is possible. And these past few years have felt like quite the contrary. Coronavirus has revealed deep cracks in the foundation of our society. Millions of people have been affected in multiple ways. I can't even count. Due to systemic inequities and decades of racist policies, Black, Indigenous, Latinx, disabled, and LGBTQ people have suffered the most. It is completely unacceptable. We all know it. And we also know this was completely preventable. And instead, this president and his party pitted us against one another. They chose to protect corporations and the stock market instead of people. They shunned science and isolated us from the rest of the world. They destroyed our moral fabric and our economy at the same time. And none of this had to go down this way. So that is why voting is literally the difference between life or death for us, and why we need you together with us in this space. And no, voting won't solve all of society's ills, but it is a necessary building block for us to move forward. The only way we can win this election cycle and any election cycle is through people power. And the good news, the very good news is we got that. We have hundreds of thousands of us on this call tonight, and we can collectively reach millions of people in our lives and communities, one person at a time. The margin of victory is within our personal networks. So if there are only hundreds of thousands of us on this call tonight, imagine if the entire Move On community, over 10 million people, took part in the Mobilize To Win program. What could we accomplish? How big of a landslide could we create? And we don't have a minute to waste. As of today, we have only 13 weeks away from the election, folks. And yearly early voting starts in several states as early as October. So let that sink in. 13 weeks away from the election. That's not a lot of time. So tonight, I'm going to ask you to commit to getting your friends and family to vote in November, to being organizers, trainers, leaders from now all the way until we win and after, because the work isn't done. Building the communities that we all deserve. This election cycle is critically important, and then we're hoping you stay with us as we build for a progressive future thereafter. Our ability together to mobilize our communities over these 13 weeks will determine whether we defeat Trump. It'll determine whether we take control of the Senate and whether we win critical progressive fights in the future. What we do or don't do in the upcoming weeks will change the course of history, quite literally. So we're going to get into the specifics of what that means for all of us soon. But before I hand it over, I need to know, are you in? Type it in the chat. I want to hear, are you in? Because we want you here. We need you here. We can do this together. And we're going to have a whole lot of fun, by the way, while we do it. So I look forward to organizing with all of you. And with that, I want to introduce my colleague, Dom. He is MoveOn's All-Star Voter Mobilization Director. So take it away, Dom.
Hi, everyone. And thank you, Rana, so much for that wonderful introduction. My name is Dom Leon Davis, and I'm the Digital Voter Mobilization Director here at MoveOn. And like Rana said, we can do this, but we have to do it together. If we're going to make the change that we hope to see in this country, it's up to us to not just get out and vote. We have to get ourselves out to vote, yes, but we won't be able to elect the leaders that we need to move forward in our country if we don't hold ourselves accountable to our communities as well, and hold our communities accountable to us. And so we have to do the work of reaching out to those folks who have felt disenchanted by the process, who have been left out by the process, and remind them that if they're not at the table, then they're on the menu. And so if you're ready to commit to getting 3 friends, family members, or neighbors to vote, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you have a cell phone, I'm going to ask you to take it out. Right? I have my phone right here. I want you to go to your text message app, and I want you to put in the box where the number goes, the number 668366. And in the message box, I want you to type, "We got us," all one word. So "we got us," all one word, and then hit send. It's because we have to be responsible for getting our communities to vote. And so we have to not just get ourselves, we have to get us, right? And so that idea of we got us, we are going to bring everyone with us. Once you type that in and you send that message, you'll get a message back asking you to name 3 people that you'll be responsible for getting out to vote. And I want you to think hard about who those people are that really need that extra push, and then reply with those names. And then we'll get back to you a little later before the election and give you a nice little reminder to say, hey, remember those 3 names you sent us? We really want you to remind those folks to vote. And so with that, I'm going to throw it back to Chris to take it away.
Thank you so much, Rana and Dom. Who's feeling excited? Go ahead and type it in the chat. I can't see your faces, but I can see your words. So just type it in the chat. Who's feeling excited? We have work to do, and like Rana said, it's 13 weeks away. We are here. We are in the moment that we have been waiting, praying, fasting, crying, hoping, and wishing for. So we are here now. So if you're excited, go ahead and put it in the chat, because we are ready to get to work. In a moment, we're going to unveil the Mobilize To Win program, our massive grassroots campaign to defeat Donald Trump, take back the Senate, and to build progressive power across the country. But before we do, I want us to take a moment to reflect on what's at stake in this election, right? Take a moment and share in the chat what's motivating you to get involved in this election. And I know you're probably saying, he sure wants us to type a lot. That's right, because we got work to do. So go ahead and in the chat, again, take a moment and tell us what is motivating you to get involved in this election. What has motivated you to even join this call tonight? Yeah, go ahead, type away. I see folks typing. Yes, Kathy says, fighting for family, friends, and coworkers. I'm a research. We need a country that believes in facts. Yes, there's so much at stake, and we need facts. There's so much disinformation out there, and it's so hard to even have good conversations with people who are even knowledgeable about the facts, because there's so much out there that is just chipping away at facts. Let's see. Fighting for We Can, You and Me says, fighting for nature so our children and grandchildren would have a chance to exist, flourish, and have clean water. Water is life. Yes. Come on, type away some more. I want to read some more. Stay with me. Type away. Okay. putting our children, N.V. Williams. You know, it's very interesting reading names on chats. Anyway, N.V. Williams says, putting our children, teachers, families who are in dangers without a plan of action, we have to fight against that. So there's a lot of reasons why we are here today. There's a lot that's motivating us being here today. You got on this call because you are trying to figure out, with all the things that are happening in this world, how can I possibly make a difference? Your presence here tonight is a step in making a difference. We promise you, right? We have been working diligently to make sure we create a program that will meet the moment. And with that, I would love to introduce my colleague, Emily Isaac, who is going to go deeper into this program.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I know that we are all here because we understand that this election matters. And there's too much on the line to sit this election out. We can't take a single vote for granted. We all remember election night 2016. I'll never forget it. The feeling of realizing that Trump has been elected. And so we cannot let what happened in 2016 happen again. So when we're asking ourselves, how do we win in 2020? It's important to look at, how did we lose in 2016? So let's actually take a look at the numbers from 2016. So in 2016, Trump won the Electoral College despite losing the popular vote. So Clinton received almost 2.9 million more votes than Trump did, but because Trump won 3 states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, by razor-thin margins, Clinton lost the Electoral College and lost the presidency. So between those 3 states, Trump won the presidency by a little over 100,000 votes. 100,000 votes out of 120 million votes. 100,000 votes might sound like a lot. It's really not. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of us tuning into this call right now. And we all know people who did not vote in 2016. So what would happen if each of us took responsibility for getting 10 people who might not otherwise vote to turn out to vote? From just the people on this call, we could make up the number of votes that Trump won by in 2016, from just the people on this call. That's amazing. That's what Rana's talking about. That is people power. So our job now over the next 93 days is to make sure that Trump doesn't win by a few thousand votes in the critical battleground states that will decide the Electoral College. In fact, we want to win by a landslide. We don't want it to even be close. And it's not just about defeating Trump. As many of you understand, we need to make sure that Republicans do not win control of the Senate again. Winning control of the Senate is going to be critical for us winning progressive fights. So we can do this by supporting and mobilizing the people we know to vote in November. We can be the difference between winning and losing. We can be the thing that gets us across the finish line. So this election in November could be extremely close in a handful of states that could determine if Trump ultimately wins or loses, especially as this pandemic is creating new barriers to voting. But we can ensure that Trump does not win again because we have people power. We all have people who we know who might not vote in November unless we remind them to and support them to. Or maybe we know folks who are on the fence about voting at all. We know people who might not understand how to navigate voting by mail and how to safely vote during this pandemic. This pandemic is opening up new opportunities for voter suppression. Already in elections that have taken place this year, we have seen polling locations closed without notice, people having to wait hours and hours in line to vote, and a disturbing number of vote by mail ballots being rejected. And these barriers, of course, disproportionately affect low-income Black and Latinx communities. But we can be the difference between our friends voting and not voting. So for example, in many states, when you're completing a vote by mail ballot, you have to sign the envelope in order for your vote to be counted, certified. It's not clear to many voters that signing your envelope is a requirement, and many will mail in their ballot without having signed the envelope. So we all have friends who are going to be voting by mail for the first time this year. And we can make sure that our friends' votes are counted by checking in with them and making sure that they know how to properly fill out their ballot. We have the power to inspire and support our friends to vote in November and to bring them into our movement for the long haul. So this is the strategy behind Mobilize to Win. It's to organize thousands of people, all of us on this call and thousands more, to become vote mobilizers, to take responsibility for mobilizing the people in our lives to vote in November. So in a few moments, I'm going to ask you all to step up to be vote mobilizers. I'm going to ask you to join a community of thousands of people across this country doing the work to make sure that Trump is a one-term president and that we take control of the Senate so that we can continue the work of fighting for healthcare for all, for fighting for a Green New Deal, criminal justice reform, and so many more of the fights that we must win to build an America that works for everyone. I'm so excited to be a part of this with you all and to share the launch of Mobilize to Win with you all tonight. So again, we're asking you to be a vote mobilizer. A vote mobilizer is someone who builds a vote team of at least 10 eligible voters who you personally know, who might need extra support or encouragement to vote in November. And you take responsibility for making sure that those friends vote. So this includes making sure that each member of your vote team is registered to vote, that they've requested their absentee mail-in ballot if that's available in their state, that they've made a plan to vote, and importantly, that they will remind their friends to vote. Because think about it, if we all organize 10 friends to vote and each of those friends remind 3 friends to vote, we will have organized 30 people to vote each of us who participates in this program. So you're turning your 1 vote into 30 votes. How powerful is that? So we all know that from decades and decades of research, when it comes to voter turnout, there's simply nothing more powerful than a friend talking to a friend about voting. Many of you may be familiar with door-to-door canvassing. How many of you have done door-to-door canvassing? So when you go door-to-door and you talk to voters about voting, canvassing is not possible this year because it's not safe to go door-to-door. And that's unfortunate because those conversations are effective. But the truth is that they're not nearly as effective as calling up our friends and reminding them to vote. So your friends are 2.5 times more likely to be persuaded to vote by you than by a stranger. This means that we have a tremendous responsibility to talk with our friends and family about voting this year, no matter where they live, but especially if they live in a battleground state. Okay, so what are our battleground states? The states that we are focusing on as Mobilize to Win are Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Texas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, and Maine. So those are the states we're focusing on, and we're focusing on those states because they're places where the race might be particularly close between Biden and Trump, or where there is a competitive Senate race. So again, being a vote mobilizer means that you know 10 people in any of those states who you can commit to turn out to vote in November. These 10 people are your vote team, and you lead your vote team to the polls, figuratively, to vote by mail. They can be friends, family, colleagues, classmates, childhood friends. You might be surprised by how many people you know in these states. You can check your Facebook list, check your phone book, really be intentional and think through who are people who I know who live in any of these states, and can I take responsibility for talking to them about this election? So keep in mind that you don't have to live in these 14 states to be a vote mobilizer, as long as you know people in these states who you can engage with about the election. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Chris to talk more about the program and give you all some more details of what it means to be a vote mobilizer.
Thank you so much, Emily. And before I get into that, I saw in the chat, Jim in the ATL mentioning John Lewis, and I know that he is still really dear to our hearts, especially with the passing of Congressman John Lewis. He says that John Lewis is my congressman. If you see something wrong, do something, good trouble. And I am just so inspiring to read that in that moment. So I just wanted to pull that out because that's what we're doing. We are taking the task, we are voting, and this is very much so in the legacy of John Lewis. I wanted to say that. Now, some of you may be asking yourself, how is being a vote mobilizer any different from what I already do? I already talked to my friends and I already talked to my family about voting. While it is common for people to talk casually about the election, these conversations usually only happen randomly and inconsistently, right? Myself as an organizer, I've worked on many campaigns and forgot to talk to my own cousins about voting, right? I got folks that like go and check the box and I ask, oh, who did you vote for? And they're like, oh, I forgot, right? So like there are always blind spots. So this is really about intentionality. So being a vote mobilizer is so much more than just reminding the 10 friends to vote. It is about systematically thinking through all of the people that you know, not just your closest friends and families, but also your colleagues, your classmates, your neighbors, your friends from childhood, the one who stepped on your foot and didn't say, excuse me, everybody that you know, okay? And stepping outside of your comfort zone to have these very important conversations. Then it's also about identifying the barriers inhibiting your friends from voting, right? And supporting them through that process to become active and empowered voters. We see so much happening to disenfranchise everybody, right? So really helping folks get through the process. As a vote mobilizer, you'll start by asking them to be a part of your vote team. And then we have a series of ongoing conversations over the next few months with each and every person on your team, including making sure that each member of your team is registered to vote, helping them to request and turn in their vote by mail ballot where possible, and making sure each person has a plan to safely vote in November. For example, do they need a stamp to mail in their ballot? Do they need information on how to complete their ballot? Do they have the proper PPE gear if they're going to go voting in person? Like really getting into the weeds of voting, like ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. This is a lot of work, yes, and a lot of details to manage. So as a vote mobilizer, you'll have special access to an app that we have called Reach that will make this work a lot easier and more effective. The app will let you check your friends, let you check if your friends are actually registered to vote. It will tell you if they are a super voter, right, who doesn't need much help voting, right? They already do what they need to do. And they will send you reminders about important registration deadlines. So we'll talk more about that soon. I know you're excited about it, but hold on, okay? And if you're really excited about it, put it in the chat how excited you are, so we can be turned up. Okay, sorry. All right. Now, some of you may be wondering, what if I don't live in one of these battleground states? Or what if all my friends already vote? You do not need, and Emily said this before, you do not need to live in a battleground state to be a vote mobilizer. Let me say it one more time. You do not need to live in a battleground state to be a vote mobilizer. I'm gonna say it one more time for the person in the back, even though you're right in front of the computer. You do not need to live in a battleground state to be a vote mobilizer. You just need to know people in those states, and you'd be surprised about how many people you probably know. Check your Facebook, your Instagram list. I know we're on Instagram, you're on different email lists. You got your TikToks, even though Trump's trying to come after it. You have the group chats, you have the Facebook groups, alumni listservs, you got the friends list, you got your enemies list. Get every list you got, okay? You don't have to be good friends with the person. You just need to be connected in some kind of way. We got to vote Donald Trump out. I just wanted to pause on that. Now we have to first warn against assuming your friends will vote in November, right? There are more barriers to voting this year than in the past years because of coronavirus. We can't take any votes for granted, but for your friends who will definitely vote in November, you should recruit them to be a vote mobilizer with you, right? If you know you got some folks who are already on the bandwagon, you already talk every day about voting, you're already discussing the news every day and how we got to get Trump out, well, tell them, hey, come sign up for this program with me, and you get your 10 friends, we get my 10 friends, we're going to do this thing, okay? Because we can't take any of these votes for granted. Each of your friends know people who you don't know. And by bringing them in as a vote mobilizer, you will exponentially increase your reach and thus increase our reach. Now, some of you might feel a little bit nervous about talking with your friends and family about politics, especially some of those who you might not have spoken to lately. Trust me, I understand, but guess what? Somebody say what? We got your back. I promise you that, right? I promise to each and every one of you that as a vote mobilizer, you will be well supported with the training and resources you will need to make the conversations with friends, family, and community members as comfortable and as effective as possible. As a vote mobilizer, you will have the opportunity to participate in 3 live trainings, and I'm super excited about these trainings. I'm turned up, okay? The first is going to be reclaiming our elections. That's when we're going to talk about some of the mechanics of voting, talk about some of the things that are happening, talk about some of the disinformation, knowing and making our own history. This is when we go back, because sometimes in order to have good conversations, especially with people who may be disillusioned, you have to tell them about where you come from. You have to tell them about the history of voting. You have to tell them about the people who have paved the way and some who have died for us to have the ability to vote. And we're here to coach you through those conversations, because those can be especially wonderful. And then how to have effective conversations through November. So literally going through the mechanics. If you have this type of person coming at you, here are some tips, right? And that we're going to go through those things. It is going to be a really great series. The training series and the accompanying supplemental resources will provide us all with a space to be inspired, to learn, to challenge some of our assumptions, to strategize, and to orchestrate tactics so we can honor the history of our communities and actualize our voting power. In the end, you will feel prepared to empower and support your family, friends, and community members through the election this November and beyond, right? Because this work is even beyond Trump, okay? The schedule for those trainings will be displayed on the screen, and you can register for them at mobilizetowin.org. Again, you can register for those at mobilizetowin.org. And I'm so looking forward to diving deep with you. As training director, I'm going to be with you on that journey. I am super excited to go deep with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Emily.
Thank you so much, Chris. I am so excited for those trainings as well. And what you said resonated with me so much. In 2016, I was obsessed with the election, following the news every day, talking nonstop to my roommates about it. And I kind of just took for granted that they were going to vote. And you would imagine how surprised I was when I found out that all 3 of my roommates at the time did not vote, right? So if I can forget, if I can, not really do my role, I'm not going to let that happen this time around. So I'm signing up to be a vote mobilizer, and I hope you all join me. As a vote mobilizer, we are all in this together. So if you sign up to be a vote mobilizer, you're joining a community of thousands of people doing this work with you. We're fighting for a better world together. We're working together towards shared goals. And we have our own online community that you will be invited to, where you can meet one another, you can meet other people in your state. We'll share special updates like our progress to meeting our goals. We'll announce leadership opportunities. It's going to take a lot of work for this program to be successful, and we're counting on you to step up into the leadership roles that we've created. So we're going to talk about the details of how to get into that community at the end of this call. But I just want you all to know that being a part of Mobilize to Win is a team effort, and it's going to be fun, and you're going to come out of it with potentially lifelong friends. So with that, I just want to say that we all understand that there's too much on the line to sit this out. As we talked about earlier, this work could be the difference between winning and losing. And for many people, elections are a matter of life and death. For families being separated at the border, for kids being locked in cages, for communities of color who are being targeted by violence, there is so much at stake. And everyone has something at stake. So we all have a shared responsibility to act, to step up, and to do something. And the math is simple on this. We can take responsibility for organizing and supporting the people in our lives to vote, or we can face 4 more years of Trump. So this is it. This is why we're here, and this is the big moment. Right now, we are going to ask all of you who are on this call, are you with us? Are you willing to step up, to put the work in, to become a vote mobilizer with us? So if you're tuning in at moveon.org/mobilize to win, you should see right beneath the video a form that says sign up. Fill out that form. Sign up to be a vote mobilizer. If you're tuning in from elsewhere, head to mobilizetowin.org to sign up to be a vote mobilizer. This is a historic, massive program, and we want you all to be a part of it with us. So what you should be doing right now, if you're listening to me, is filling out the form below. It's a simple form, and post in the chat when you filled out the form. This is incredible. I'm going to check our numbers real quick. Just yet, oh my gosh, we already have 700 signups. That is huge. And I know there's so many more people on this call who haven't signed up yet. We're counting on you. Sign up the form right now. Everyone should be typing away, filling out the form. This is how you're going to be kept up to date on the program. This is how you say, yes, I'm in. I will be a vote mobilizer. So fill out the form right now. Post in the chat when you've done that. And then think about, who am I going to recruit to be a vote mobilizer? If every single person who's filling out the form right now also brings just 1 more person in, we will double the size of our program tonight. So it's not just about you, it's about organizing the people you know who is not on this call tonight who should be. We're counting on you to bring them in. I'm gonna invite my grandma, my mom, my brother. So please do that with me. Please invite all of the people who you know who want to be part of this program so that we can make this a huge, historic, massive grassroots effort that will defeat Trump finally. So thank you. Just remember, by stepping up, every person that steps up, that's 10 more votes against Donald Trump, potentially 30, 40, 50. And it's so important that we all do this. So thank you. Let's see in the chat if you've done it. Amazing work. All right, so that form is available all night. Please fill it out. And once you've done that, you will be in the program and you'll have everything that you need to be a vote mobilizer. All right. So thank you all. You all have stepped up in such a big way tonight, and I hope you're feeling as excited as I am. We're almost at the end of this call, but there's just a couple more things that we need to talk about. So now that you've signed up to be a vote mobilizer, the next step is downloading our app called Reach. You don't need to do that right now. I just want to chat with you all about this process. So if you've signed up to be a vote mobilizer just now, you should have an email in your inbox with instructions on how to download the Reach app. Reach is an app that us all as vote mobilizers use to make our outreach to our vote teams as effective and easy as possible. So like we talked about before, Reach will let you check that your friends are registered to vote. It will tell you how to help your friends request their absentee mail-in ballot. It will alert you about important deadlines in your friends' states. So after this call, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the email and you're going to see instructions on how to download Reach. Once you download Reach, the first thing we want you to do is brainstorm the list of the people who you want to invite to your vote team. Again, friends, family, colleagues, write it down on a piece of paper, make a brainstorm. And then you're going to add these friends to your network in Reach by looking up their voter records. This is how you can check to see if they're registered to vote. You can also match your phone list against the voter file, and Reach will tell you these are all the people in your phone list, these are who are registered to vote, and you can brainstorm your list that way. So once you've built your vote team in the Reach app, you'll want to reach out to them and ask them to be a part of your vote team. And there's a sample text message in the Reach app that can serve as a model for how you might do that. So don't feel like you have to remember all of this right now. All of these instructions are in the follow-up email that you've received by filling out the Vote Mobilizers form. And this is all outlined in the Reach app. On the homepage, you'll see in step-by-step instructions. So I just want to call that out. Reach is a really cool app that we're using, and you all have special access to it as Vote Mobilizers, and we really hope that you take advantage of it. All right, so do we have questions? We're going to do a small Q&A for about 5 minutes. If you have any questions about anything that we've covered tonight, please post them in the chat and we will answer your questions. And again, if you have not signed up to be a Vote Mobilizer, do that right now using the form below. It's also accessible at mobilizetowin.org. Amazing, we have 1,000 people signed up. Keep going, keep going. I know there's so many more people on this call who haven't signed up yet. We're counting on you. So let's see these questions. Okay. So, so I already remind all of my friends to vote. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir in my world. How do I reach others? So what we would recommend is think through who are all of my friends who are very reliable voters and call them up and say, hey, do you have people who you think might not vote? And keep track, write down, okay, your colleague, what's their name? I can check for you if they're registered to vote. Add their friends to your vote team and take responsibility for their friends through them. Does that make sense? So we want to think very broadly and go deep into our networks. All right. So many questions coming in. All right. So are we going to have, graphics and resources to help our friends request their absentee ballots? Something that we can copy and paste? Absolutely. Great question. So as part of this program, we are going to make lots of resources available to you all with very clear instructions on what all of the voting rules are in all of the states. Information that you can pass on to your friends about this is the link that you have to go to on the Secretary of State to request your ballot. If you need your own stamp to send in the ballot, all of the details, we're going to make that very accessible to you all to use with your friends as part of this program. Okay, what is the campaign code in Reach? Great question from Kathy. So in the email that you get when you sign up to be a Vote Mobilizer, you will see a code. It's highlighted, and you type that 8-digit code in. So it's in the email when you sign up to be a Vote Mobilizer, which you can do on the form beneath me and at mobilizetowin.org. So check the email. It's titled, Please Read Next Steps for Being a Vote Mobilizer. Okay, great question about using Reach. You do not have to have a smartphone to use the Reach app. It is also available on your desktop, and you can access it in your browser. All right. So I have a question. How is vote by mail different than absentee ballot? To be honest, I'm not quite sure yet. So these are all trainings that we're going to give you that Chris is going to lead. We are going to really get into the nitty gritty and get into those questions like that. So make sure that you sign up and mark your calendars for our training series, which also is in the email. Okay, and I'm hearing that, you know, absentee and vote by mail can be the same thing. Sometimes everyone gets sent a ballot. Sometimes you have to request a ballot. It's very nuanced, and we're going to get all into that in our training resources. Okay, so these are great questions. If you have more questions that didn't get answered, you can send them to mobilizers@moveon.org. That email address is also in the follow-up email. So there's a theme. There's lots of great information in the follow-up email that you get when you sign up to be a Vote Mobilizer. So please read that email. All right. So with that, we're going to just go over next steps before I hand it over to Chris to close out. But the next steps for this program is downloading the Reach app. 1, signing up for the trainings. Again, this is all in the email that you receive when you sign up to be a Vote Mobilizer. And lastly, joining Mobilize. So I mentioned earlier that we are a community. We all are a team working together. So where we communicate and chat with each other and get to know each other is in an online space called Mobilize. It's basically like a Facebook group for Vote Mobilizers. So the information on how to get into Mobilize is all in that email. But please, 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 it's so much fun in there. We have all sorts of Vote Mobilizers waiting for you, where you can go in there, introduce yourself, find other people in your community. We're going to be posting lots of exciting updates about the program there. So it's called Mobilize. It's like a Facebook group, and you can access it in the follow-up email. And we encourage you to get in there and introduce yourself, and so we can organize together and win. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris to close this out. And thank you all so much for being here with us.
Thank you again, Emily. And thank you everybody again for being on this call, for stepping up and saying, I am going to be a part of this program. I am going to make a difference in my community. I am going to encourage my friends, family, my folks that I love, folks that I kind of like, everybody to vote, right? Because it is important that we all be on the same page and get folks out to vote. I noticed that there were a lot of unanswered questions in the chat. Do not worry, we are not ignoring you, but there's only so much time we have in this 1 hour. But if you come to the trainings, you will learn about voting by mail and how to reach out to people in your community if your friends are already on your side, and how to talk to people who are unlikely to vote. We are going to be deep diving and talking about that extensively because we know that this is something that is important, and we know that many of you who are already super active, these are the things that you've been coming up against and trying to figure out, and these are the things that we are coming up against and trying to figure out. So please make sure that you sign up to be a Vote Mobilizer and sign up for our trainings, because it is going to be a good time. Okay, I was about to sing that, but I forgot I can't sing. But it will be a wonderful time where we can actually dig down into some of these things. With that, I just want to say again, thank you for joining this call. The work that we're getting ready to do over these next 13 weeks is super important. It is imperative that we do all that we can as individuals and touch all the people that we know to get out and vote. Listen, I said at the beginning of this call that I'm tired of being tired, right? And look, and I know with Donald Trump not being in office, there are still issues that we have to fight for. If you were here last week and listened to Leader Stacey Abrams, she talked about some of those overarching issues. But it is important to understand that part of the process is us getting out and voting, no matter what, and encouraging people to vote, and making sure that we do all that we can to make sure people are engaged and have the tools and the resources they need to do so. And so I want all of you to know that no matter all the things that are happening in this world, all the background noise, all the things that have been purposely done to discourage and to make you feel tired and to make you feel like there's nothing to the work that I do, that is all disinformation. Okay, there is a reason why they are attacking our vote. There's a reason why they are trying to disenfranchise us. There's a reason why they're trying to exhaust us. But we have to meet that moment with our vote. And so with that, I want to say a heartfelt thank you. Thank you to my colleagues, Emily, Dom, and Rana, who joined me on this call. Thank you to all of you tonight. Thank you to your friends who are going to sign up. Thank you to even your enemies that you're going to call and be like, hey, I know we don't get along. I know we ain't talked in a couple of years, but please, let's vote. This election is super important. And with that, I just want to say thank you and have a wonderful evening.